Hey guys, welcome back to License to View. This is a weekly pop culture podcast where two best friends get together to talk about pop culture stuff. I'm Jason, that's Zach. What's going on, man?
Uh, you know, Nothing much, man. I was a little upset, and now I'm feeling better, so it's
Oh,
fine.
really? Why were you upset?
I played Guilty Gear,
Um,
so
that
and I
would do it.
started playing the player lobbies where it doesn't match you up by rank. So I'm starting to be matched against people that are clearly better than me, and I've started to realize how much I just suck ass at this game. And I'm like, okay, that's where I'm at. So I was upset, and then I watched a Hololive concert because of YouTube Music Weekend. So they've got their whole concert from like a year or two ago online. So I watched that for 50 minutes. I'm feeling a lot better now.
Oh, hey man, that's what you need then.
Yeah,
Well, Zach, to make you feel even better,
tell
we're
me.
here to wrap up our Zeta Gundam compilation movie.
I was going to say, we can't really call this the Zeta walkthrough because,
No,
as
it's
we're going to discuss,
the
this really feels like this isn't the complete Zeta package.
No, it's the Zeta compilation movie retrospective thoughts and chit chat.
Yeah.
Last week we finished up the original Gundam 0079 movie trilogy and then also hit on the first Zeta
Yes.
movie. This week we're doing Zeta 2 and 3, and I think 2 is called like Lovers of Space Masters or.
Two is, I think, just called Lovers. And then the third one is like Love in something space or
I
some shit
I
like that. They've all got
no, I
super
think I
weird
think 2 is
names.
actually a longer title, not just Lovers. I thought it was Lovers
Hold on,
too,
let me
but then I
look. Let me
saw it
look.
somewhere and it was like this like full sentence.
Let me look at my list. Hold on.
Cause here,
Let me
so here
see.
I'm seeing Lovers, and
Mobile.
I'm also seeing it like Lovers of something.
Yeah, because on my anime list that I use to track all my shit, it's just
See,
called
I was seeing that
Lovers.
too.
But then three is called Love is the Pulse of what is it? Love is the Pulse of the
Okay,
Stars, which is like I don't even know what the fuck
maybe
that
where I
title
was
means.
watching it just mixed them up because I saw that too and I was so confused. Um, but we're
Yeah.
doing those two and three, Mobile Suit Gundam Zeta Gundam
Hmm.
compilation movies 2 and 3, wrapping those up this week, and then next week we're
Yes.
hitting Char's counterattack, and
Chars
then
and
Hathaway.
Hathaway.
So,
Yes.
as you mentioned, Zach, that
Hmm.
it ain't the greatest way to enjoy Zeta Gundam.
As somebody who's never watched Zeta, I can easily tell that this is probably not the best way to try to enjoy
Yeah, and as
Zeta.
someone who has seen Zeta but has never seen the movies, I was confused because I remember. I mean,
Yeah. I think two and three, I think we'll get into it, but like these exacerbate the problems that I talked about last week. Is that one, they're shorter, so there's not as much content. And with there not being as much content, it's so clear that there are just like plot lines and like character development that is just like
yeah.
gone. Like just poof,
Well,
it's like not
and
there.
so I want to preface this too as we continue on with Gundam stuff for the next 2 weeks, this week
Yeah.
and next week, is that I'm a huge Gundam fan, right? I
Mm.
am not a Gundam encyclopedia. You know what I mean? There is so much shit to
Yeah.
UC alone. Like if we talked about
Yeah.
Destiny and its amazing sequel that everyone hates because it's trash, Seed Destiny, I could probably do okay.
You mean
Yeah, I could
Seed
probably
Seed
do
Destiny?
okay in Seed and Seed Destiny, right? But when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to fucking 79, Zeta, Double Zeta, Char's Counterattack, War in the Pocket, all 8th MS, all, yo, I don't know names. I know faces. I know suits mostly, not even by name. I know suit by design, color.
For me, it was like I mean, I feel like I'm a big Mobile Suit fan. I like Gundam, but I would say I'm a fan of Gundam, but I definitely haven't like watched all the Gundam stuff. And yeah, I'm definitely on the thing where it's like I barely know names. I mostly know
Suit
like
designs.
suit designs. Like I know what the Gundam looks like. I I thought I knew what the Zeta looked like, and then I watched this, and I think I actually know what the Double Z Zeta looks like, because that's Whatever the big chunky one. That's the one that
Yeah.
like sticks out in my memory the most. He's got like the thick ass thighs and he's just like a
Well, my
huge
point
fucking
was is
robot.
that even having seen all of UC, right? Granted, some other more than others, some fucking multiple times, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching these compilation movies 2 and 3, and I'm sitting there thinking like, is that right? I don't know if that's right. Like I'm second guessing myself. Whereas a person who's a massive fan of Zeta can go, that's not right, right?
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I'm jumping ahead here. The one thing I know for a fact, besides the fact that they cut shit out and ruin characterizations and stuff, and really confusing
Mm-hmm.
relationships. The one thing I know for a goddamn fact, 100,000%, was when I got to the end of 3 and they gave me the ending. I was like, that's 100,000% wrong. Because of all
Okay.
Zeta,
I know that there's one thing that's like wrong in it for sure, which is like just for me reading the Wikipedia. I know that there's some shit where it's like, because when Rekua goes over to like the enemy purple bitch's side,
the
there
Axis.
was like some thing in the Wikipedia where she like does a terrorist attack. Like she actually like does her own terrorist attack and like destroys some city. Like she releases a gas bomb or something like that, and that's like not mentioned. Or I think like in these movies,
Doesn't
like it does
happen.
not happen.
But
It's
also,
very
so like,
strange.
it's stuff like that which is omitted. It's the whole relationship between Camille and Four is like really.
Dude, that was the most confusing shit. I mean, that was like that whole second movie started the thing that I felt between the second and the third movie the most, which is that I'm sure it's just because like so much shit's cut out and they're like trying to truncate everything, but like characters just felt
Yeah.
bipolar in this show. Like in one moment, like I think there was one point, I think it was in the third movie where he's like, where Camille's like talking. I can't remember if it's in the second or the third movie, but it's like Camille's talking to the pink-haired
Sarah,
girl, like
yeah.
Sarah or whatever. And at one moment, he's like talking to her and like trying to convince her to like join his side or whatnot, and like, you're like not a bad person, like you can be on my side. And like 2 seconds later, he's like, if I ever see you
Yeah.
again, I will kill you. And I'm like, what is
Well,
going on? Like, this is not how
with
normal
Four in
conversations go.
particular, and I'm basing this off of 10-year-old fucking Gundam knowledge, but
Yeah.
that relationship is so much better in the show, and it makes more sense so that
Mm-hmm.
when she dies, it has like an actual
Yeah.
impact on like on a commit. Because the point is that Zeta is not nice. Like the whole show is like the fucking depressing.
Right. Well, I felt that in the third one, where it's like if you compared the third movie of Zeta, no matter how wrong it is, like plot wise, if you compare like the third movie to Zeta, like the third movie of the OG, it's like in the third movie of OG, basically everybody that's on White Base that hasn't died at that
Yeah.
point is like still alive. You go to the third movie of Zeta, it's like basically
Yeah.
everybody's dead except
Well,
for
it's
like
also
Camille.
like the whole point of like the whole show is like anyone that comes near Camille dies. Like anyone he wants,
Yeah.
any if you're a lady and you come near him, you're dead. Like there's just no question. So like
Yeah.
when Four,
Well, it's your guy too, because he's got the one guy who's what's his
yeah,
face's kid, and like he's fucking dead because of the
yeah,
pink haired bitch.
what's his name? Cats, yeah.
Cats, I think.
It's also just
Yeah.
like they cut so much out, and when I was watching movie 2, especially with Four and the Psycho Gundam, excuse me, and
Mm-hmm.
that relationship with Camille, it's way better in the show, obviously. But I'm watching it in the movie, and I'm just thinking, I'm literally sitting there being like, am I having a fever dream with how sporadic, like they're no joke, Zach, and tell me if I'm off base here, but like they meet for the first
Mm-hmm.
time, they walk around,
Yeah.
and then 2 seconds later, he's like, I gotta see her again. You just fucking saw her. By the way, it's
Yeah.
cut.
Well, that it's like in their first meeting is like she's lying to him, and she like I don't remember exactly what she did, but she like got in his
Yeah,
car somehow, and he like drops her off somewhere. And it's like the next scene, he's
yeah,
like, I gotta find her again. And I'm like, you just dropped her off. You don't even
yeah,
know her. Like, what do you mean
yeah,
you gotta see
exactly.
her
And
again?
then if you have no idea about Psycho Frames, it just cuts to her like glowing, controlling a Gundam, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? But obviously they
Yeah.
break it down as the Psycho Frame, but still,
I assume that has something to do with like the new type power, and you could basically like there's no like I'm assuming there's no like manual controls and it's all with like brain power.
I'm sure some other Gundam geek can explain it better than I can, but it's just like when they can control
Yeah.
funnels, where like you're not actively, you know,
Well, I kind of got that with not with her, but with the Xeon
yeah,
chick Haman, where her whole thing is like
the
the
funnels, yeah.
the funnel thing. That was like the first time I ever saw it. I don't even remember if the Psycho Gundam in movie two even
You'll
used
see
funnels. Like,
you'll see next movie you'll see funnels, and Psycho
yeah.
Frame is expanded
Well, I know the new Gundam is like
funnels,
all
yeah.
about he's got the like one wing and that's like just his
Yeah,
funnels and
they
shit.
break
Yeah.
it down to where like the new Type E connection or whatever the fucking like the brain power or whatever the fuck however they explain it can control them without thinking. It's just subconscious or whatever the Gundam reasoning is. Um,
Yeah.
it is both movies, but I think two suffers the most from it. The sporadic editing
Hmm.
is it's such a detriment
Yeah.
to the story. And if you have no idea, like you do, what the fuck's supposed to be going on, you walk away with that movie being like, I don't know, this serves no purpose. This serves no
Yeah.
purpose.
I mean, that's basically how I felt. I was like, I don't even know what I was
Yeah,
supposed to get out of
except for
this. Like,
maybe some cool Gundam scenes. Beyond that, you have no relationships.
I feel like two also had this. I don't know if you felt this as well, but I felt like I felt it in two and three more so than one. But it felt like a lot more of like the new animation. Like it felt like if we going on the theory that like the new animation is stuff that they're adding in, it felt like two and three were like leaning more towards like the newer animation, which meant that there was like a whole lot of stuff that they were like cutting and changing and like adding in new storylines and plot lines with like this newer animation that I mean, at least for me, it felt
Yeah,
like you could see more that they were like
yeah.
adding more shit in like two
I
and
would agree.
three. Just visually, because it's so easily
Yeah,
visually to tell if it's new or not, because it
I would
just looks
agree.
better.
I
But
noticed. I remember catching myself watching two specifically, being like not being able to tell anymore. I was like, am I just seeing less old footage, or am I just used to them cutting back and forth? Like I just can't tell.
yeah,
Um, but two, like I said, two is yeah, two. The editing on two it ruins the story. Just straight up, it ruins the story,
yeah,
and you get nothing out of it if you're a new fan. You have to have a basis for the actual ongoing story, because if you don't, the hurdles that Camille goes through in that movie seem like nothing. It seems like nothing. And
yeah.
from what I was reading, this is all just Reddit threads from years ago from finding on Google and from Wikipedia.
Hmm.
Apparently, the director of the show, this is just from Reddit, was depressed when he made the show. So when he
Like the
made the
original
show, he was
show.
going through a tough time in life, and people are extrapolating that
Okay.
it just Camille's life was hard too because of his life.
So it's like the Evangelion thing, where it's like he was depressed when he was making Evangelion. That's why the ending of Evangelion is so like
Right.
depressing, and then he tries to like
Except
make
for
it
with
happier.
Ano, it was 26 episodes, and for this it's
Yeah,
50 episodes.
and
It's
with this,
50
it's like
episodes
double.
of
Yeah,
this little boy, this teenage boy going through the worst. Like episode one, your parents are dead, and then just doesn't get any better.
yeah,
It doesn't get any better at all, right? So I think from what people were saying that in these movies, he wanted to tweak the grit, tweak the depression, and make it to where Camille has a little better of a situation, and that's where the ending is different.
mm.
And we can get there now or later. I don't care when. Um,
I mean, we can just get there now.
so
That's
in the
fine.
ending of three,
Because I'm interested. Because you definitely said that. Like, I mean, you messaged me today, and you're just like the ending is completely different, and so I
yeah.
don't know. So for me, I'm interested to know what the original ending
So
is.
the ending sticks out to me a lot, right? Because the show is so depressing, and Camille's life
Mm-hmm.
is like worse than Char's and worse than Amuro's times a billion. Um, and
Yeah.
maybe I'm getting something wrong here, but I'm pretty sure I'm like 95% correct. This is the ending of the original show, and we can pull up Wikipedia and double check me if you want. But I'm pretty sure that. So we'll do the movie first. In the movie, Zeta pierces bad guy's mobile suit cockpit. It's
Which was a badass moment, and it
yeah,
reminded me of the moment in the third Gundam movie where Chard like
yeah.
bazookas
It's
that one
awesome.
chick's
He
head
pierces
off.
it. first off, the cockpit, the tip of the Zeta when he's in plane mode, I think he would do
Yeah.
more than just half his. I think he would.
That I mean, what's his face is like
It,
bisected at that point. Like that's a
yeah,
whole
but the
ass
tip
plane.
of
Like your lower
I feel
body
like the
just
tip
does
of
not
that
exist
thing would
anymore.
be his whole body. You know what I mean? I think it's bigger than that.
Yeah.
So whatever. So
Yeah, I feel like
I
they
feel like
shrunk
they did
down
the
the
two.
tip. Yeah.
So he rams the cockpit, destroys the dude's body basically. He's bisected, and then they do a little quick one liner, blah 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 blah, and then it ends,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah, there's like quick cuts to like what everybody else is doing, kind of, and I think there's like some shit with like the pilot from the first movie and like her kids, and then you see Sayla for like a scene
Yeah.
which made no fucking sense. I was like, where the fuck has she
So
been for
what
like three
happens to
movies?
Camille at the end of the movie? Do they explain? Do they show
In the third, I don't even think I
after he
remember.
rams him?
I feel like I feel like he meets up with like the Argham's crew, or no, you. I remember the last shot is like him and
Floating in
Fa in
space.
space, and they're like straddling
Yeah,
each other, like they're
they're
about to have
like
sex with
floating in
each other
space,
in the
right?
middle of space.
And they're all happy.
Yeah, that's like the last. That's like the
They're
last scene you
happy,
see of
they're
him. Yeah,
jovial. The day is won. In the
yeah.
show, and I'm again 95% sure I'm correct on this. I could be wrong. The same thing happens.
Okay.
He rams the Zeta into the cockpit, hits the guy, and then in the middle of the one-liner, the guy releases a new type psychic blast, which then puts Camille into a coma, basically a vegetable state. And then through the
What
entire
the fuck?
Double Zeta series, he is like a vegetable until the last episode. Until he finally regains some sort of life. So for a full 50 episodes, he's like, if you're wondering
He's
where
not a
Camille's at, he's
person.
in a fucking hospital bed or some shit. You know what I mean? And then the last episode of Double
Jesus.
Zeta, you see him like kind of recover.
So for so I guess timeline wise, like these movies are basically like almost not canon because if you like do, I mean, I guess you can, I guess you just ignore Double Z, I guess, because then after that, I mean, he wakes up at the end of Double Z, so I guess it just makes they would essentially make Double
So
Z not
from
canon,
just
but
from again the same threads I was looking at, people are like, I guess the general consensus amongst the hardcore Gundam fans, I'm assuming, just two
mm-hmm.
alternate timeline. You know what I mean? One
Mm.
makes Zeta Double Zeta irrelevant. One is what makes Double Zeta happen. So and
Okay.
obviously also the tone of Double Zeta is less depressing too. So there's that. But it
Mm.
ends with him on a beach with Fa and they're together and then they're like happy and shit like that. But like he can't.
So it's basically the ending of this movie, but it takes
And
way
there's like
longer to
yeah,
get
and it's
there.
more and like the whole like
And then you know, there's the whole plot of
right.
Double
And then
Zeta,
but
whatever
then it
that
ends
is.
the
But
series. What happens to Camille? It ends the series on a bleak note. Like the hero doesn't win. I mean, like he doesn't go
yeah.
off in the distance and fly away and get the girl like Amuro or Shark gets some cool glasses and a tank top. Like he wins the day, but everyone he loves is dead, and he can't be with the person he loves with. Like he's fucked. Like it's the whole show is just like this
Yeah.
so a bummer. And then this movie, movie three, just says nah, we're not going to do any of that. And good or bad, I don't know. Um, because I don't know if they have a Zeta double Zeta movie. I can't, I don't I doubt it.
I
I
don't think
doubt
they
it because people
do.
really didn't like it that much. Um,
Yeah. They
yeah,
didn't like
it
Double
really
Zeta
isn't
that
that
much?
popular. So
Interesting.
just in terms of that, I recognized that difference right away. Like I knew for sure the ending was different. So I walked away being like,
Mm-hmm.
I get what he was trying to do, the director, trying to like make Camille's life better. But that
Yeah.
still just isn't, you know. I think it's a worst thing to do for a story. I don't know.
Uh, I mean, knowing the ramifications that like that decision has later on, like with the original series and how it leads into like a separate one, I feel like it's a little bit of a letdown. But I guess if you kind of like consider these movies as like I don't know, their own self-contained little timeline basically. I guess it's not too bad, but it feels weird to like consider them their own separate timeline. I mean, I guess you could think of it that way because it's really not the original because there's just so much new shit that's been added to this. Like outside of them like revamping like mobile suit fights, like there are just like entire dialogue scenes that you can tell have been like revamped or like re-edited or whatever the hell you want to call it. But like, it's definitely not like the same show. Like it's not like 009 or 0079 where it's just like that. Those movies are just like the original show but truncated to fit like 6 or however
Yeah.
many hours it is. No, it's like 7.5 or something like that. This is like no, this is a semi. It almost feels like a soft reboot, almost of like Zeta as a series, but a terrible soft reboot because they, I don't know, they like. It's just so obvious that they bungled like half the shit that they were trying to put in there. Like, I don't know. I feel like you're just trying to make it shorter. It's like I talked about last week. Like, if you're gonna do all these remade scenes, like just remake the whole series at this point, and like just do what you want to do. Like, if you're gonna like change the series to make it happier, I don't know. Like, trying to fit in with like the original footage and like trying to like still have the plot that you want to make revolve around the new footage that you made as well as reusing of old footage. I don't know. It feels like a lot more work. Like, I feel like it probably would have been smoother if he wanted to do this new like more positive story if he just
Yeah,
done it all
or
from scratch. Just I feel like you could have made it smoother and like not made it feel as like bipolar
yeah,
or jittery or
you
whatever
just
you
do
want to call
rebuild.
it.
You just do a rebuild
Yeah.
and do 3 movies.
I mean, you do what
Yeah,
Anno
rebuild.
did with Evangelion. Yeah, you just do whatever you
Yep,
want for
that's
like
it.
3 or 4 movies and
And then
like
people, it's
yeah,
not a compilation thing. You can do the whole thing. Now, obviously, budgetary, I understand for money wise, you know,
yeah.
whatever. But it's not like Sunrise doesn't have money. But I mean, it just you leave movie 3 and you ask yourself like, what the fuck did I just waste my time on? That was 4.5 hours of my time, and I had no clue what the fuck's going on. And thankfully, Camille's
Yeah.
story, not from my memory, is really relevant to Char's counterattack. I could be wrong. I don't remember
Mm-hmm.
his personal story being that relevant.
Well, does Char even show up in Double Zeta? Because in the end of this movie, they basically like. I mean, I know he's not dead because he's in Char's counterattack, but they basically make it
I
look
don't
like he
even
died.
remember if he's in Double Zeta. I don't think so. I could be completely wrong though.
Yeah. So he basically disappears until Char's
From my
counterattack.
memory, yeah, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I don't remember Double Zeta that
Yeah.
well. Yeah, I'm not gonna
Hmm.
rewatch it anytime soon because I don't remember. I don't remember liking it when I watched it. You know,
Okay.
um, I remember
Okay.
turning it on and being like, "This is a happy show. Like, this is a goof show." And I just spent 50 episodes like sad. So I'm not really. I mean,
Yeah.
some people be in the mood to watch a goof troop, but I wasn't in the mood to watch a goof troop at the time. Also, I watched it when I was like 14, so I'm like, oh, edgy,
You want
you
the
know, the
angsty edge to it.
edginess.
Yeah.
That's why I love that's why I loved
No.
Gundam Seed because it was like super anime. Like it looked super anime and it was
Huh?
super anime. Like in the sense of like,
Yeah.
you know, it's all about pretty boys and there's romance and there's like the space.
Well, that's basically Gundam Wing.
I haven't seen Gundam Wing in a long time.
It's I mean it's basically like it's an anime Gundam like it's pretty boys.
Yeah.
There's like 5 of them. They're almost like Power Rangers at that point where there's like 5 of them and they've got their like distinct Gundams. And then it's all about the main guy and his
All I
romance with this
remember,
chick who's super important for
is
some
she like a
reason that I
princess or
can't
something?
remember.
All I
I think she's a
remember,
princess or something like that. I feel like there's always like almost always a
yeah.
princess or something
All I
like that in a
remember
Gundam
from
movie.
Gundam Wing, which was one time I watched the show and I hated it. It was years ago. I know it's not a very
Hmm.
popular opinion, but years ago I watched it. I had bootleg DVD, complete DVD set of it. I got off eBay or some shit. And I was watching the
Okay.
first episode, or whatever episode it was, 3 or 4, whatever the fuck. And the girl's like wants to invite Hero to her birthday party, or some shit like that. And then Hero
Hmm.
comes close to her and goes, "I'll kill you." And it's like, what the fuck are we
Yeah.
doing? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Why are you saying that, you fucking edgelord? Whereas Gundam Seed,
He's like Edgelord the character. He's like I mean, as far as like watching Gundam Wing, He's like the least interesting character to me. I mean, the my favorite is I can't remember his name, but he
Yeah,
pilots the
yeah,
Death
yeah.
Sight Gundam, and he's like the
But how
sickest fucking
cool is
character.
the
I love him so much.
what's it called? The Endless Waltz Gundam Wing. So sweet.
I remember that movie way less than I remember the actual show, and I remember not liking the movie. Like I watched it in college after after I watched Gundam Wing, and I remember finishing the movie and I'm being
Oh,
like, I don't know what the
I
fuck the
could
point of
tell
this
you a
movie
single plot
was.
line, but the actual Gundam itself with the actual wings is cool.
Oh, I don't know. It feels weird because
Yeah.
it's like real wings. I'm like,
Oh,
but
I
this
know.
is
It's so cool
Gundam.
though.
Like this is so
Still, it's like
stupid.
Sephiroth.
I mean, aesthetic wise, it looks cool, but like, I don't know. For me, at that point, I was like, but this is a Gundam.
You
Why
know,
it's got angel wings? This
I
makes no
could be
damn sense.
wrong, but I'm pretty sure that there are Gundam Seed movies.
There probably are. I feel like most like popular Gundam series have like a movie or two,
Yeah,
or at
like I
least.
think I'm pretty sure they have compilation movies. Let me see.
Oh, interesting.
Mobile Suit Gundam Seed.
I really don't know how well these compilation movies work outside of like the OG series, because like I feel like the OG series with like it being like 7.5 hours, I feel like it's really able to like kind of encapsulate like the overall story. Like I don't know, I feel like if it's any less than like seven, like if it's any less than like over 2 hours a movie, I feel like it really doesn't do as well. Like this is a prime example of like there's just too much shit in like a Gundam season for you to like chop it down to like any less than like above 2 hours a
Yeah, so
movie.
this
There's too
said
much.
Wikipedia says it was released right after the show was over, and the first movie's 100 minutes, second movie's 100 minutes, and
Not long enough.
third 3 movies. I don't see the third one, and
Those
it
aren't
says
long enough.
there's a whole list of the changes too on the Wikipedia page. There's
Okay.
3 movies, but I can't see the time frame for the third movie. Um,
Hmm.
but as I was watching Zeta 2 and 3, I just kept thinking to myself, I want to watch Gundam Seed. That's all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna watch Gundam fucking Seed soon and realize how trash it is. But then I'm gonna get the Gundam Seed Destiny, and then I'm gonna fucking throw my phone against the wall.
I was just
Cause
saying,
it's, and like
fucking
here's the
hate
thing,
it.
dude. I can't remember if I hated it. Look, I liked it. I liked it a lot as a kid in
Mm-hmm.
2004, 5, whatever the fuck it came out. I can't remember if I hated
Yeah.
it because the story sucked, but I know that's not true. I hated it because the animation was they put no money into this fucking trash show. So they would have scenes
Uh,
of like Zaku's flying around and they just were static images of Zaku's and there was like putting fucking like moving them around with a pointer.
you can tell they're
Yeah,
just like using a mouse and like dragging.
terrible.
Yeah.
But man, I fucking love all the Gundam suits. I love all the mobile suits. I love all the characters because the main character of Gundam
Mm-hmm.
Seed it's like pacifist man. He's
Okay.
Amuro. Basically, it's the same thing. He's Amuro, and then he becomes pacifist man. You know what I mean? Whereas like
Okay.
Amuro, you'll see in Char's counterattack, he's still he's still a pilot.
You kind of got it in this one too. I mean, I think that was also kind of like I don't know. I was expecting more Amuro, and then like outside of like the beginning of the second movie, I think it's like 20 or 30 minutes, but then he like basically like pieces out, and then you never see him again until like the last like five
Yeah,
minutes of Gundam 3.
yeah,
And that was also disappointing because I know that just reading through the Wikipedia page briefly, I know that he's got his own fucking shit with like a completely separate group that like him and like Katz's dad are a part of, and like I think Kai's a part of it too. Like there's a whole separate group that is like not even mentioned. Like I think it's mentioned at like the end of movie one where it's Kat's dad is like in it, and that's how they're able to like supply the ship or whatever. But like Amuro, like from what I remember from the reading of the Wikipedia, like Amuro joins that group. He like actually has like some effect on the plot. I feel like,
yeah.
but he really doesn't in here.
No, not
It's
at
very
all.
strange.
They just cut him out. Last week we really just last time we really see him do anything was like All right, help Camille get the rocket. Go to space. Bye.
Yeah. That's it. He's like, okay, Camille. It's like the beginning of the second movie. It's like, all right, you got to go back to space
Yeah.
now. I'm like, but we got here.
How also just real
Okay.
quick, how confusing is that opening scene to the first movie? It's like it's like it's so jarring. It's like it cuts from like black opening credit scene or whatever to hey, get in your Gundam to help catch a plane. It's like what the
Yeah.
fuck are we doing?
It's
What
very
the fuck
strange.
is this?
Also, this is the world of Gundam. Why the fuck is anybody flying a
Seriously,
biplane?
what the fuck are we doing? We just watched the guy in the last movie ram a fucking AC-130 into a fucking mobile suit.
Yeah.
Why the fuck are we flying a fucking Wright brothers plane? Makes no
Yeah.
fucking sense. Um, so what's positive? And are there any positives from 2 and 3?
I really like the mobile suit a lot. I like the look of Zeta Gundam. I like that he gets his mobile armor shit where he's able to like finally do that. Like when he gets Zeta Gundam and like he's actually starting to use it and shit. Like I'm like hell yeah, this design looks
Yeah.
cool. I'm liking all his shit. He's got his weird like sword staff. I dig that shit. I like the. I think the overall positive is I still really like the designs even outside of the Zeta Gun. I really like the designs of a lot of the mobile suits. Like I like Char's thing, his gold mobile suit.
Ugh,
The only one I don't like is I don't like the purple guy's suit. His fucking big fat boy
yeah.
that like there's nothing to it. It's just like plain and it's big. And I'm
Yeah.
like that's a boring mobile suit. Because then you got the fucking girl from Xeon and she's got her suit, but it's big, but it's got like characteristics to it. It's got like the fucking big ass shoulder pads. It's got its weird like fucking bunny butt with the funnels that come out of it and shit like that. Like it's got an interesting design to it. And then you go to like the purple guys. I think his name's like Shiroko or something
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
You go to his thing and he's like, I'm a big guy. I got like a weird unicorn head. That's what I got.
I love
I'm like, this is boring.
Zeta's design, but I feel like
Yeah.
in the compilation movies they really just gloss over how cool it is. Like this, like
But I don't really think there's any like scenes that like in the typical anime where it's like you see the suit for the first time and they like really take a chance to
yeah.
like let you sink in like how it looks like
Mm-hmm.
and like the design of it overall. Because I mean going back to like not that has anything to do with Gundam, but like watching SSS Dynazenon and that like mobile like basically mobile suit series like giant robot series like the first time you see them like transform into Dynazenon like they take a good like 5 to 10 seconds to like really let you like sink in like what this design looks like
Mm-hmm.
and like scale wise like how it compares to like the area that's around it like how massive it is and that there's not really a moment like that in the show. And I think, I mean, it goes back to the thing that, like, this movie really doesn't take a chance to, like, stop and
No.
breathe. Like, it has so little time that it's just constantly just like, we got to get to the next thing.
Yeah.
Like, we got to wrap up 50 episodes worth of content in, like, 4 hours.
Yep.
We just got to keep chugging along to the next plot
Yeah,
point.
and they it cuts right away from like, hey, Camille, get in the ship. We brought the Zeta. Cut to don't gotta deploy the Zeta. Cut to right away deploying the Zeta, and they don't
Yeah.
have a moment to ever show anything. In
Mm-hmm.
within even if it's a compilation movie, I think this is where you should probably take the time to let the new, improved, powerful upgrade sink in because it's the fucking title of the show. Like,
Yeah.
take the time to
Which
do it.
also, as it being the title of the show, it's weird how long it takes us to actually see the Zeta
Yeah,
Gundam.
yeah.
It's like almost the end of the second movie, the beginning of the third movie, isn't it? I feel like it took a while for him to actually like get a hold
Yeah,
of the Zeta
it's a long
Gundam.
time, and
Yeah,
it's just it's so glossed over. It's just kind of like, why the okay, you got it, all right, no impact.
yeah,
But where I mentioned last week, and I don't want to keep going back to Gundam Seed Destiny because it's a trash show, but the main character gets his upgrade suit. And I was telling you about this last week about how the suit is so overpowered that he can attack 100 enemies at once. Well,
yeah.
they're in space, and their ship's being like convulsed or whatever the fuck on, like being attacked by a bunch of people, and he like deploys it, and it's super sweet and badass, and then he's able to lock on it, and right away they show you the power of this machine right
Mhm.
after hyping it up, and they show you. Whereas in the
Yeah,
movie, and I can't remember how they do it in the show, but in the movie it's just like, we got it, okay, here it is, and then he just does shit.
yeah.
And they don't really explain. They don't have a breather to like show Camille getting used to it. He's automatically good at it.
Yeah, it's very jarring. And I mean, I guess you could kind of talk it up to like, you can do like the Star Wars lazy answer where you just chalk it all up to new type shit and the fact that he's a new type and he's just instantly good at it. But like, I don't know. Because he wasn't instantly good at the Mark II, so it just doesn't make any. Yeah, I don't know. It's very,
Because even it's the
very
simple
jarring.
thing that they do at mecha shows where it's like when it's a new suit or a new anything, like the pilot's always like, oh, this thing's fast, or some shit like that. You know what I mean? This
Yeah.
this blaster's insane. Like something as simple as that.
Well, you think you would have that moment with him where he goes in like mobile armor for the first time because like he's never done
Yeah.
that before, and then he does it. He's just like, "Yeah, bitch, I can do this now." And I'm like, "But you've never done this
And
before.
again,
Like,
and
how is this not like jarring that you're constantly you're going from like being a regular robot to like being a jet plane?"
and again, and maybe that does happen, just not in not in the movie. You know what I mean? It could absolutely
Yeah,
happen. Who knows? Because I don't remember
yeah.
that. I don't remember at all. Um,
Hmm.
but beyond that, the designs of the suits are cool. Zeta looks great.
Yeah.
The new animation's still solid looking for 2005.
Yeah, the animation looks solid. I mean, it's still like the thing where it's still jarring when they do switch between like the new this is newly animated, like oh this is reused
Yeah.
stuff. Like it's still jarring when you can. It's very easy to tell when they're like going back to old footage. But I mean, the new stuff looks good, and like even the old footage they use from like Mobile Suit site fights, because there is some old footage they use from like the Mobile Suit fights. Like it's not all of that stuff is like completely remade, but
Yeah.
like it still looks like very engaging. Like compared to double O 79, like it still looks engaging and it's like fun to watch. And I'm like, yeah, this is like what Gundam fights. Like this is what I
Exactly.
expect out of a Gundam.
Yeah.
So it's definitely got that going for it. But yeah, I think the biggest detriment to this movie is just like or these movies is just the plot is such
Yeah.
garbage because there's nothing connecting any of this stuff together. It's just like I mean it's the red letter media thing where it's just like and then this happened and then this
Yeah.
happened and then this happened and then this happened and then this happened and then that's the end
Mm-hmm.
and we're done.
Yeah. And I completely agree. And all it does is make me want to rewatch the actual show.
Yeah, I'm definitely more interested to like watch the actual show than more than I was before because like with the original compilation movies, I feel like okay, I feel like this is like a pretty good summarization of like what
Yeah.
happened in the original Gundam and like sure there's stuff that I know that I'm missing, but I know that I've got the
Yep.
overall plot of what the show is and like what the message and the theme for the show is like in these three movies.
Mm-hmm.
After watching these movies, I'm like, I know I did not get what I was supposed to get
Yeah.
out of this
Also, just the
fucking
amount of
show.
characters that are introduced in the show. It's like, yeah, I saw a comment on Reddit, like I was saying, where someone from
Hmm.
I guess however many years ago asked in the Gundam Reddit thread, being like, "Should I watch the movie? I watched all of 0079, and I just then I said to watch the movies for Zeta, and people were like, vice versa, dude. Watch the movies for
Yeah,
0079 and then watch the Zeta show because you're missing out on so much." Which is I would
yeah,
completely agree because if I I don't know what the fuck happened. I have no idea what the fuck. I
yeah,
have no idea what the threat was. Did they win? I have no idea. I have no idea what the
yeah.
fuck happened with the Axis Xeon. I have no idea. What happened to Char? I don't fucking know. What happened to Titans? I don't
Yeah.
fucking know. I have no idea what happened. I have zero clue
Yeah.
because it's just
All I
editing.
know is that they somehow brought in a Death Star laser
Yeah,
again in this show, just like they did in the original. I'm like, really? Is that just like a sci-fi thing with everything is like ships in space, so we just
yeah,
have to have a Death Star laser?
yeah. It's honestly, I'm shocked that this even came out. I don't know how this
It's very
got
strange.
fucking released. I
Yeah.
have no idea how this got released. This is so terrible.
Yeah.
Even for a person who I can't imagine, even someone who's super duper like in it. I
Into
can't
Gundam.
imagine that they would even appreciate this. It's
Yeah.
like if someone recut fucking Back to the Future and like fucking did what they did to this shit, I would be like, fuck that. Why the fuck would you even make this?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it's
yeah,
like I'm trying to think of like an example. I mean, it's probably isn't a great example because it's a lot longer, but it's like if you had Psych compilation movies and they like did this
yeah,
like
yeah,
how
yeah.
they did it for like Psych, be like, fuck off, dude. I'll just watch the whole show.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely harder because there's no overarching plot,
Yeah, I
but
think I was trying to think of a show that that had like an overall
Okay,
story
if
like
there's like a
this.
Dragon
I guess
Ball,
like Breaking Bad would be
like
one if they
a
like had
Dragon Ball
Breaking Bad
compilation
compilation
movie,
movies and they try to do this like that.
those
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z compilation movies, you'd be like, what the fuck?
Well, you just go Dragon Ball Kai and do that, and I'm like, what the fuck is going
I
on in
haven't
this
even seen
show?
that, so who knows how that is?
I've seen a few episodes of that, and it's just like,
They
it's
cut out some
fine.
power ups.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's different because like that's an actual Kai is like an actual show as compared to like compilation
Yeah,
movies. So it's like it's different in the sense that like the stuff that they cut out, like as far as the since it's a show, like you know that they cut it out because like it doesn't need to be
right,
there, but it still feels weird
sure,
that there's just like the stuff that like just from your memory as a kid, you're like, oh, this is
yeah,
missing.
right, yeah, absolutely. That's why I'd never watched it because I wanted to see 10
Yeah.
episodes of Power Up. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Zach, is there anything else you want to mention about Zeta 2 and 3 before we wrap and move into next week for Shark's Counterattack and Hathaway, two actually good movies?
I'm trying to remember if there's anything from my notes. I think most of my notes are just me being confused, complaining about the women in the show because they have, besides Camille, they have like the most batshit insane reasoning for like the shit that they do. Like Rekka's whole explanation for, I can't remember who it was, but like her explanation of like why she turned evil, I was like, what the fuck is this explanation? And I remember at the end of the third movie, she like has the conversation with the woman. And she's like, "Yeah, and men use women as tools, and that's why I went to the evil side." And I'm like, "Bitch, you're being used
Yeah,
as a tool. Like this, your reasoning does not make sense because you have not changed your
yeah,
position in this power structure. Like you're still being
yeah,
used. So I don't understand your reasoning of like, yeah, I did this so I wouldn't be used as a tool. I'm like, you're still a
yeah,
tool. Like the purple guy is still using you because you can fly a mobile suit, and like he's just
yeah.
like, yeah, I'll date you, but like I don't love you. She's like, he loves me. He really loves. I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
he
he
doesn't give a
doesn't.
shit. Doesn't give a shit.
I don't know. I think overall highlight is definitely when Camille stabs him with his entire spaceship because that shit was fucking. I jumped out. I was like, hell yeah, that's
Yeah,
like all I wanted to see. That's like the bazooka moment from movie 3 of the OG.
yeah. It's a really brutal way to end a fight.
Yeah, especially watching these movies overall, where like people die, but there really hasn't been like anything particularly brutal. I mean, I guess movie 3 is like where most of the brutal stuff happened because that's when like Katz runs into an asteroid and like dies, and then Fa, I don't even remember what happened with her. She like got partially blown up and then just decided to like commit suicide for Camille or some shit like that. That also made no sense to me. Where he had like his weird power up and his Gundam started to glow, and that did not make sense of like why this is
New
happening.
types, man.
I guess it's supposed to be like an evolution of new type, but I don't remember them having like fucking Kaioken times 100 suddenly like appearing on the outside of their mobile suits. Um, but yeah, I'm just glad he got stabbed. Also, I just hated the purple hair guy, so I was glad that he finally got stabbed with a spaceship. I was like, hell yeah. Character that I hate the most like is dead in like a fucking brutal way. Hell yeah.
I like how I googled Zeta Gundam Camille, and the top people asked on Google was, "Does Camille Beaton have autism?" I guess there's an article from.
That's what I feel like. It feels like not autism, but like it goes back to like it's not just him, but like I feel like it exemplifies him the most because I feel like it's a lot of his scenes where it happens where he's like talking to Four or he's talking to Sarah or he's talking to Rekka or wherever, but it feels like he's just like super
Well, it
bipolar.
says here in the CBR article, which whatever, that apparently it's like stated
Mm.
in episode 8 of the show that he has.
That he has
Yeah,
autism.
it's like a whole art.
So he's not a new type. He's
Well, he's a new
autistic,
type too.
or is being a new type a form of
I
autism?
think they're not mutually exclusive because
Okay.
Amuro is pretty dude. He's kind of broy, right?
Yeah, he's kind of like just a dude.
So,
Oh no, he kind of bitched in the original series though. I mean, he did get bitch slapped. I mean, Camille got bitch slapped too, so that's like a whole
but
thing.
there is a
But
really cool Mega House is puts out all these cool Gundam figures of characters.
mm-hmm.
I saw that they have a Camille figure coming out in November, but it's
Hmm.
7.5 inches and it's $170. And it's just like Mega House
Mm.
is so fucking over.
Is it him in his pilot
Yeah,
suit?
it's so fucking overpriced
Yeah, it feels overpriced, especially for like. I mean, I obviously I can't tell that well through Skype, but like the quality of it doesn't look like it's
Well,
$170
they
worth of
had
quality.
Amuro and they had a Char a while back, and like they
I would buy a Char one for
yeah, they
sure.
have
Holy
a
shit.
Quattro figure, and they have a Amuro one too, but they're always so overpriced. I remember being like, I'm not gonna fucking pay you $200 for this fucking 8-inch figure, dude. Fuck off.
Dude, honestly, I know that it's so much work and I wouldn't be willing to do it, but like going through Gundam like the past couple of weeks, I kind of want to buy a Gunpla.
You should.
Like I want to buy a model.
I I,
And then not have any of the paint so it looks like shit, but
I think I have my
because I think those you have to paint yourself, right? Like I know you have to like sand it
no
down and like do all that shit. Or are there ones that come like
no they all
pre-painted?
do.
Oh, they
They all
do?
come pre-painted.
You still gotta like sand the shit off, right?
You don't
Like
gotta
you
do
gotta cut it
shit
out.
if you don't want to.
I mean, if you want it
If
to
you
look
want to be
good.
a snapper, that's all you gotta do. You're
Mm.
talking to an ex Gunpla guy, right?
You're an ex
Oh,
Gunpla?
bro, I have fucking, I have a
I know I got my Figmas somewhere of like New
no,
Gundam, and I think I bought
I
the
have a
Master
fucking,
too.
I think I have a RX-78 Origin from like 3 years ago in my closet somewhere, and I have a fucking
I got my Figmas somewhere. I think they're at my parents' house because I know I bought New Gundam, and I think I bought the Master Gundam as well.
no, I
Um,
had, I never went above master grades, but I had a fuck ton of master grades. I had a Freedom master grade, I had an
okay.
Ale Strike master grade, I had a fucking
So
Thunderbolt
no,
crossbone,
knowing
excuse me,
that,
crossbone.
what are the? So you said Master Grade. What is that? Is that like a difficulty
So
ranking
there
in the
in the
build
Gunpla
or?
world, and again, there's probably some Gunpla nerd out there who can explain Gunpla better than me, but fuck off, because
Mhm.
guess what? I know figs. So, right? So, do you have high grades, which I think are the lowest, smallest size, 100,
Okay.
144th, I believe is the size range. Like, however tall that is, fucking yay big or
Yeah.
whatever the fuck.
Compared to like what a real life Gundam would
Right.
be. Yeah.
There's those, so they're the smallest and the cheapest. Then there's real grade, which I think are the same size, but are more detailed. I believe I've never had one.
Okay.
MG's master grades are bigger and more detailed, so more difficult to build. And by more difficult, it really is not much more difficult, but just more time,
There's just more
more pieces,
pieces.
more time, more detailed, more whatever. Above that, you have perfect grade, which is the highest level, which are way bigger and way more money and way more detailed and way more complex. And those are difficult
Okay.
to build. Um, my buddy is a huge Gunpla guy, and we build Gunpla in high school together. He dove in way more than me. I was sander and panel line with a Gundam marker and then snap. He was use nippers to cut off the spools or whatever the fuck, and then fucking sand and fucking paint, and then or no paint them white, paint them gray, then paint the color. He was all the whole nine. And
Hmm.
remember, he got a perfect grade for Christmas one year when we were in high school, and it was like $300 or some shit like that. And it was like maybe it was
Jesus.
Gundam Wing Endless Waltz. I don't know for sure, but the box was like fucking massive. It's a massive box.
I mean, I know that because we've been to cons before, and I've definitely seen like the Gunpla boxes, and they're all like a pretty decently sized
Yeah,
box most of the
I
time for
stick
like.
with master grade stuff, or I did stick with master grade stuff. Actually, I have a couple pre-order right now. Um, I have master grade Sazabi pre-ordered, which is you'll see that next movie. Uh,
Yeah, because that's Charlie
yep, I
suit, right?
have a
And
red comet Zaku, and I have a not the new. Hold on, I can pull up right now off of BigBadToyStore.com, even though we're not sponsored, obviously. Let me pull up my pre-orders off here. So I have Master Grade Tsuzabi version Ka, which is another another an alternate version of another of the same kit, but I
okay,
believe it's like more detailed and shit like that. I've never had one before. This is just from what I understand. They're more expensive. I have a new, and then I have Origin Zaku 2 red comet
okay,
on pre-order. Um,
interesting.
and I'll do the same thing I always do. I will. fucking sand off the edges from the whatever the fuck, and I will panel line, and then I'll snap. I don't give a fuck about painting.
So what do you mean panel line? Is that like you take a marker and you
So
basically like
you
color over
take you
whatever?
use either what's called a Gundam marker, which is what they actually
Okay.
sell them, and they're like
Okay.
gray, black, whatever fucking colors, right? Or you use like an actual like panel lining paint, like a thin brush or
Hmm.
something, and you go and you line the seams of each piece. Because if you look at pictures of
Okay.
Gundams, right, it looks like each piece is like has that black around the pieces, so it makes it look more
Hmm.
in depth, more 3D. I can give you,
Interesting.
bro. I will text you like two YouTube channels that you should watch if you want to build Gunpla.
I've seen some. I was watching one. It wasn't a Gundam one. It was a guy that basically made like a one of the Hololive talents. He basically made her like a Gunpla mech
Yeah.
model, which looks super dope. Um, but I was like watching him, and he's got all his shit where he's like, he's got his whole set. I also watched somebody do the. They had a Berserk, a guts like gunpla type of thing
The
where it was
kit,
like
yeah.
the segmented pieces or whatever. Yeah, that they did, and I was watching that too. And he had like his whole setup where he's got like the fucking like tool chest where he's
Mm-hmm.
got like cabinets with all these
Mm-hmm.
different things. He's got like paint and shit
Mm-hmm.
everywhere, and he's like
Mm-hmm.
sanding pieces down, and like he had like his little airbrush doing shit, and I was like, God damn, dude,
Hold on.
looks
Give me a
dope.
second. Vamp for a second. Let's see if I have it in here.
Yeah, but I mean, like he was doing that, like he was using his airbrush. He was actually able to like put. I don't know. I've never. First of all, I don't understand airbrushes. Like he was able to put like definition into like even just the way like Guts' sword look. He was able to put like the definition into like the different like you could tell like the level of like wear and tear on the blade where it was like more worn out on like the outsides of the blade and like the middle of the blade was like definitely like thicker and like less like dented and damaged just because as far as like Guts swinging it like he's really not concerned with like the middle, it's like the edges, so it's like
Nah,
um
it's fucking in the living room, or my it's in my one of
okay.
my old boxes. But all I have is like a little plastic like art case that's like yay big,
Mm-hmm.
and it has like three spray paints in it, like ones I need, like white, red, black, which I just in case I ever needed it. And then I have a set
Mm-hmm.
of they make Gundam tools, which are basically like nail tools to cut them
Yeah,
off of the fucking
there's
runners.
a thing to yeah, like cut them out of the whatever, like
Yeah, I think they're
I don't
called.
know,
I
like
think they're
finger or
called.
whatever that they're in.
I think they're called runners. I could be
Mm-hmm.
wrong. Runners, maybe.
Yeah.
The cut them
Where they
off.
like yeah, they like suspend all the
Yeah, the
pieces
cut
and
them off so
whatnot.
you're
Yeah.
not twisting them and shit. You know. I have that.
Yeah.
I have a pack of Gundam markers. That's it.
Huh?
And then like one file, like a Gundam file.
Mm-hmm.
Or some like GundamUSA.com or some shit like that, which is a Gundam store. Like whatever. One of they're like, hey, you bought it here. You're buying a Gundam. Add to your cart. Hey, maybe add this for $7. That kind of shit.
Yeah.
Um, and I built a lot in high school. And I gave my buddy I was telling you about. I gave him a lot of my kits. I gave him a Master Grade Strike Freedom Gundam. Because I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't care. It takes time, and I didn't want to.
Right.
I didn't have anywhere to put it, and now it's kind of like I have places to put stuff. So maybe I will.
Mm.
So, but Zach, real quick.
Yeah, if I was thinking about that, I would probably either do one from the original series or maybe like one from like Wing. I think the ones from G Fighter, the only one I would really do, because I already bought my Figma for Master Gundam, so the only one I would really do would probably be like the fuck, was it the Burning Gundam? I think is what
Is it
it's
a God
called.
Gundam or something?
Shining
Shining
Gundam.
Gundam.
That's the main Gundam from G Fighter. But that or I mean I haven't finished it, so I do kind of want to go back and rewatch it too. But Iron Blood Orphans, like I really like the Gundam Barbados model.
Yeah.
It's like the weirdest Gundam model ever though, because it's really not long range. Like he's just got his fucking like giant ass like spear mace, and like that's his whole combat pattern. Like he doesn't have like Vulcan cannons or anything like that. He's just like, nah, I'm just here to like fucking like unga bunga smash shit.
Right.
So
Um, no, man. I mean, it's fun, but I don't take it too seriously. People on like YouTube and Reddit and the groups, the Gunpla groups take it like an art form, and I get that.
yeah,
They're like they're sure they're modelers, and I'm not a
yeah.
modeler person. I'm like, hey,
I definitely would not be a modeler
Yeah.
if I decided to start
I
doing
mean,
that.
maybe one day if
I'm not gonna like have a whole separate room in like my apartment or whatever, where I like have my whole like cavalcade of tools and
I mean,
shit.
and
So
maybe I'll build one of these new ones and be like super like into it. But as of
yeah.
now, snap for me. But Zach, in terms of Gundam Zeta 2 and 3, anything else you want to add before we wrap up this week, man?
Nope, that's it. We've been avoiding talking about it this whole time, basically, and I'm fine with that because I'm ready to be done with these movies and get to like the good shit.
I
So,
agree. Well, guys, thanks for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll see you back next week with more Licensed View.
see you guys.